The difference between tax liens and tax deeds. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ted Thomas, and for the last 25 years, I've been involved with tax lien certificates and tax defaulted properties. Now, in this episode, I'm going to cover the difference between tax liens and tax deeds, and there's quite a difference, as you'll see. So America is full of money-making opportunities, and this is certainly a money-making opportunity. If you're very conservative, you're going to fall in love with tax lien certificates. If you're a little bit on the aggressive side, you're an entrepreneur, you're going to love tax deeds. And I'm going to cover both of those. And before I finish, I'll also cover two big mistakes that taxpayers make. Now, the newcomers and the people that are just getting started and the people that have experience make big mistakes at the auction, and I'll cover those. And along the way, I'll teach you a little bit about tax lien certificates and about tax deeds. So stay with me and I'll come right back. The difference between tax liens and tax deeds. We're going to cover that. Now, these tax deeds and tax liens have been around for over 200 years. There's over 3,000 counties across the United States, and they all sell either tax liens or tax deeds. Now, about half of the counties will sell a tax lien certificate. Now, when you buy one of those, you do not get possession of the property. So let me say that again. You do not get possession of the property when you buy a tax lien certificate. When you buy a tax deed, you're actually buying a property from the county. I'm going to cover both of those. Now, thousands of people default on their taxes every year. I'm talking about thousands. There'll be over 5,000 tax defaulted auctions this year. Now, the counties are then in trouble. The local county won't be able to pay the bills if a lot of people default on their taxes. So what they do is they do something about it. So in half of those counties, the action that will be taken is the county will actually sell a tax lien certificate in the hopes that you'll buy it and make a profit for you, but it'll give the county money to pay the bills. The other half of the counties will sell tax deeds, which simply means that the property's already been defaulted and confiscated. The local government is going to sell that property for 10 or 20 cents on the dollar. So let's figure out what's happening here. The reason that the counties have trouble is because a lot of people haven't paid their tax. Now, if the property owner doesn't pay the tax, who is then going to pay the firefighters? Who's going to pay the police department? Who's going to fix the roads? Who's going to pay the county employees? You're getting the ideas. So the local county has a lot of bills to pay. So half of the counties will sell a tax lien certificate. Now, how did they ever get to the point where they're doing that? Well, the state got together with the counties, and the counties are having trouble collecting money. So the legislature authorizes the treasurer to first levy a tax on every property, then it authorizes the treasurer to go ahead and collect taxes on. Now, if the treasurer cannot collect taxes, they'll do one of two things. In the tax lien certificate states, they will put the property in default, and then they will sell a tax lien certificate. They will not push the person out of the property. So they're benevolent. They leave the person in the property. If someone will pay the tax, they finally get their money. Now, why would you pay the tax? Well, because these tax lien certificates, the lowest I've ever seen a certificate pay is 12%. That's in New York, out of Nassau and Suffolk County. But if you went to Cook County, Chicago, Illinois, and DuPage County, Chicago, Illinois, they pay up to 36%. So you're kind of getting the idea. So the county treasurer controls this whole process, and it's all regimented, and all of these sales are conducted and administered and mandated by local governments. So you're never going to give Ted Thomas any money. You're always going to invest with the government, and you're going to get a check back from the government. So that means if you bought a tax lien certificate, you would not get possession of the property. Now, they're going to have a few of these around. Let me just demonstrate that to you for a second. So this is a local newspaper from Duval County, Florida, and this newspaper has a list of tax lien certificates. Now, and this newspaper has no pictures in it. It's just a list of tax lien certificates. I'll hold it up a little bit so you can see, but the point is there's going to be 32,000 just in this county. In the state of Florida, there'll be over 1 million certificates that are available this year. Florida pays 18%. So tax certificates are low of 12, Arizona's 16, here in Florida it's 18, Iowa's 24. You're getting the idea. So you could earn a lot of money on a tax certificate. I'll hold up another one here. This happens to be a newspaper from Tampa, Florida, And in Tampa, Florida, they had over 40,000 certificates. You're not going to be able to read this newspaper because the numbers are too small, because they get 40,000 certificates in here that are available. You do not get possession of a property when you buy a tax lien certificate. But what you do is you not only help a homeowner, because they don't kick them out on the street, but you're also helping the local county so they can contribute some money to the hospital, pay the libraries, pay the school teachers, pay the county employees. So I'm sure you're getting the idea now. All right, so I'm going to move forward. All right, so the average person is never thinking about all the bills the county has to pay. But the property owners are sure thinking about that, because they have to pay property tax. So everybody is required to pay property tax. All right, so the rates on tax lien certificates, 12 to 36%. But they don't just sell tax certificates. What they do is they sell tax deeds. Now that means the county treasurer didn't get paid, so when the treasurer doesn't get paid, they're authorized to go out and confiscate, to seize the property. Then once they have the property, they're going to resell it into the marketplace, except they don't sell it for retail, they sell it for very close to the taxes they collected. So if you could buy that property at very close to the collected taxes, you might buy it for 10 or 20 cents on the dollar. Now think about that. So the tax lien certificates give you great interest rates of return. Now you're able to buy property at rock bottom dollar. So I love to buy them low and sell them low. So the point is, in both cases, whether it's a tax lien or it's a tax deed, there's no mortgage on the property. Because when a government auction takes place at the county level, it wipes out the mortgage. Now, that doesn't mean that Ted Thomas wiped out the mortgage. That simply means the government, with their action, takes the mortgage off the property, and then they're going to resell the property with no mortgage on it. And the government is allowed to do that. Now, of course, they give proper notices to everybody involved, but the mortgage is wiped out in a tax lien certificate sale and with a tax defaulted. So you're kind of getting the idea. All right, now, in one case, you get the property. That means you bought a tax deed. In another case, you get a piece of paper, which is a certificate, and that means you bought a tax lien certificate. Now, the deed states, of which there's half, are like New York and like California. If you don't pay the taxes, they seize the property, they kick the people out, they evict everybody that's there, and then they resell the property back into the marketplace. Those properties are sold for 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents on the dollar with no mortgage on them. All right, so there's a world of difference. One is a tax lien certificate. When you buy one of those, you're going to get a predictable, certain, and secure investment. You can't invest with me, you're going to invest directly with the government. And the other opportunity is tax deeds, perfect for entrepreneurs. And what do you do there? You're actually buying the property, and you're buying it for 10 to 30 or 50 cents on the dollar, depending upon what the bidding's going on. But the property will start in the auction at somewhere very close to the back taxes. So I hope you're getting what we're talking about here. Let me do a couple of questions before I leave you today. So the question was, should you focus on tax liens or tax deeds if you're just getting started? Well, do the easiest thing for you. A tax lien certificate, you're not going to have any concerns about losing your money because you're investing the money with the government and getting it back from them. But what you are concerned about is what interest rates you're going to get. So that's a nice, easy investment. If you're willing to put in a little bit more time and get a little educated, then I would say start with the tax deeds, because what if you could buy a property for, say, 20 cents on the dollar? All right, so let's say it's a $100,000 property. You can get it for 20 cents on the dollar. Well, you've got a lot of margin there to make money. So you don't have to wait to get retail. Sell it for 40 cents on the dollar. You make yourself $10,000 or $20,000. So I like to say, try whichever one you feel most comfortable with, and find out what it is in your community and work in the local community before you go out of it. Everything can be done online. I'll get to that in another class. Okay, so the question was, can people outside the United States buy in the United States? And the answer is yes. We have clients already in Canada, in the British Isles. We also have people in Singapore, in Bangkok, and of course, Australia. Anybody can buy a property online today. Now, 5 years ago, we pioneered that, but it's normal now for people to buy and resell online, and you get the same deals that you did otherwise. You just do it all online. Remember, you can't give Ted Thomas the money. You have to give it directly to the county, and then it's all managed there, and it's perfectly safe. Okay, so that kind of gets us ready to button up for today. And so what I'm going to do now is tell you about two things that I want you to be very careful of. And number one, if you're going to go to an auction, I don't care if you're a newcomer or you're an experienced investor, People make big mistakes and lose hundreds of thousands of dollars at this tax auction. How do they do that? Well, they go to the auction, they start bidding on properties that they have never seen. You do not want to buy a property if you haven't had boots on the ground and your eyes on the property, or someone you trusted didn't do that. Why? What if they had had a hurricane? What if there was a flood? What if there was a tornado? Many things can happen to properties. What if it burned down? All those things could happen, and now you'll have a property that there isn't one there. Well, when you buy at these auctions, you have to pay for what you buy. And I don't know about anybody that gets a refund, so you want to make sure that you know exactly what you're buying. Now, the second mistake people make is they're anxious, they're excited, and so they go to the auction and someone gets a property before they do. So there's a long list of properties to get, so they get aggressive and they start bidding again, except they have no exit or selling strategy. If you don't have an exit strategy, I'm telling you, do not buy, because you could pay way too much money. So those are the two big mistakes that people are making. Now, for those of you that have learned a lot and you'd like to move forward, what I have is I have a gift for you, and the gift is something special. It's called a Safe Haven. Now, this Safe Haven is a course. It teaches you how to buy tax lien certificate and tax defaulted property. It's a gift that you have to pay for it. All you have to do is go below me and register it. Just register for the Safe Haven, and you can get started right away.